To those listening, test what I say, validate my words, filter everything to extract what's valuable and useful for your life. It's impressive how a single message can be interpreted in so many different ways. Some see it as boasting, others as vanity, and some even as arrogance. But in the end, what matters is how you apply what you learn. As for expectations, I know many want me to make videos about politics. I'll get back to that, but for now I need to organize my priorities and focus on what's in my hands. I'll keep impacting people, but at the right time. Becoming wealthy is simple, but true enrichment isn't limited to finances. Write this down. Being rich in all areas should be your life goal. It's not about hitting 1 million, 10 million, or 1 billion. The focus should be on enriching yourself intellectually, emotionally, and spiritually. For instance, who here wants to be intellectually rich? Raise your hand. To achieve that, you need to love studying, questioning, and teaching. But beware, you also need to surround yourself with wise people. Arguing with fools leads nowhere, as fools always despise wisdom. It's like throwing pearls to pigs. They don't know the value of pearls, trample them, hurt themselves, and then blame you. If you want to become intellectually rich, you need to step out of your comfort zone and explore the unknown. Study subjects you've never tackled before. An example? Study space. Oh, but I don't understand it. That's exactly why you should start. When you expand your understanding of the universe, your mind grows with it. Let me tell you a story. As a child, my biggest dream was to learn everything. At 8 years old, I would study the Barca Encyclopedia. I'd ask my mom to buy each volume, and when they arrived, I devoured them. I was fascinated, memorizing invention dates and absorbing all kinds of information. But when I tried to share what I learned, people around me ridiculed me. One time at a birthday party, I talked about the invention of the tractor. An adult interrupted and said, "I don't know, I wasn't there." Everyone laughed, and I left crying. That experience taught me something important. To win, you need to leave the environment that limits you. Everyone who prospered in life had to leave their comfort zone. Even Adam, who was in paradise, had to move to a new land. God is dynamic. He moves. When you think you've reached your limit, God has already prepared something new. This dynamic nature of God reminds us that the universe is full of possibilities. When you understand a bit about metaphysics, you realize that everything your mind can imagine exists in potential. If you think you've reached the end of the line, then it will be the end. But if you believe you're just getting started, it will be the beginning of something new. It all depends on how you view your situation. A practical example of this is in Ecclesiastes 11, where Solomon gives powerful advice. Invest your money in good businesses, and in time you will profit. Divide it among several ventures, for you do not know what risks might lie ahead. This text is 3,000 years old, but still incredibly relevant. Solomon teaches us that profit is directly tied to understanding time. In other words, patience is key. If someone promises quick profits, or if you fall for that promise, you're simply being reckless. True profit requires planning, diversification, and a long-term vision. So if you want to get wealthy, start thinking big and strategically. Be dynamic, seek wisdom, and invest in your future with patience. The process may be slow, but it's secure and sustainable. After all, true wealth isn't just about money. It's about living fully in every area of life. Do you want to get rich like me? That's fine, it's simple. But to do it, you'd have to go back in time and redo all the sacrifices I made. When I was 8 years old, while other kids were playing, I was studying. I remember a day years ago when my dad sat in the jacuzzi at my house, looked around and said something I'll never forget. It all adds up. He was recalling moments from my childhood when I stayed up late studying, exhausted, dipping my feet in cold water so I wouldn't fall asleep. Something I'd read that famous pianists used to do to stay focused. Why did I do that? Because I was encouraged from a young age. My mom used to put verses from Proverbs in my lunchbox, and my dad made me copy them out. I can't count how many times I threw those papers away, thinking they were useless. But today, if you quote a verse from Proverbs, I can finish it without thinking. Why? Because I've read that book about 400 times, and even now, every time I read it, I find something I never noticed before. Why does that happen? Because every time you engage with something profound, like the book of Proverbs, you're a different person. As Heraclitus of Ephesus said, "A man never steps in the same river twice, for it's not the same river, and he's not the same man." The river changes, and so do we. That's the beauty of wisdom. The more you grow, the more layers you uncover in things you've already seen. Now let's talk about profit. It comes with time. For anything to bear fruit, you have to respect the time it needs to mature. But beware of two extremes, impatience and procrastination. Impatience destroys profit because it's unnatural. On the other hand, excessive delay can make profit vanish. Think about nature. Every seed has its own timeline. An apple tree, for example, takes 5 years to bear fruit. Some plants take weeks, others decades. Someone who plants rubber trees as an adult might never see their harvest. People who plant date palms in Egypt know they take 70 years to produce fruit. But time is built into the process. The secret to wealth is understanding time and respecting the process. That's what Solomon teaches in Proverbs 6:6. Go to the ant, you sluggard. Consider its ways and be wise. Solomon wasn't just admiring ants. He was practicing the art of contemplation. That's something many of us have lost. We're so busy complaining that we forget to reflect. I always say, go watch the sunset. Why? Because a sunset invites contemplation and a connection with God. Adam had this habit. In the cool of the day, he and God would meet. But when Adam stopped contemplating, he got distracted by things that weren't his concern. Another secret to wealth is enjoyment. God placed the tree of life in the Garden of Eden for Adam to eat from freely. He could contemplate, enjoy, name the animals, and live a full life. But he got lost in something that wasn't his to have. When it comes to Solomon, there's something important to point out. Wisdom isn't a human quality. Wisdom is access. It comes from God. Like love, divine wisdom isn't something you feel or develop on your own. It's something you receive, overflow with, and share. So why idolize Solomon? He was wise, but he wasn't perfect. He himself wrote, "The end of a matter is better than its beginning." Yet the end of Solomon's life was worse than its beginning. This shows us that even with access to wisdom, we're responsible for applying what we've learned. What about you? Are you willing to seek access to divine wisdom and respect the time it takes for fruit to mature? Or will you stay stuck chasing immediate profits, which only lead to frustration? Remember, reflect, enjoy, and trust the process. Wisdom is available to you, but it's up to you to decide how to use it. Wisdom is more than a concept. It's a person. That person came down to earth and is known as Christ, the builder of all things. When you understand that Jesus is wisdom in the flesh, you realize he is the Word, the beginning of everything. That might make some people uncomfortable who say, "Oh, now you're talking about religion." But if that's the case, set aside your ignorance for a moment and just listen. Loving wisdom doesn't mean idolizing anyone. In fact, wisdom itself teaches that idolatry is a sin because it diminishes God's presence within you.